If you're a professional organizer who's ever had a client lose momentum partway through a project, then this video is for you. And I feel like that's everybody. Maybe the project is taking longer than expected. Maybe the space looks worse before it gets better. Or maybe your client is starting to wonder where all their money is going, what all these hours are devoted to, because it's not clear to them. It also could just be that they're so overwhelmed by their own stuff that they aren't able to see the progress that's happening in real time. I encourage professional organizers to send progress reports. We send them to all of our clients. It's especially true for larger jobs, but I want to be really clear about this from the beginning, that this is not about proving your work and how hard you're working or anything like that. It's not proving that you did enough, and it's not about making the clients feel bad for asking questions or anything like that. It's just simply a client care tool, and it works really well. It's just a simple way to have that transparent communication that a professional business owner should be engaging in. So if you're working on a bigger project like a moving project, garages, storage units, unpacking jobs, whole home resets, or anything in between where the client is spending hundreds, thousands, or even thousands, tens of thousands of dollars working with you, then this communication cannot be an afterthought. In my opinion, it's really important. It has to kind of be part of the client experience. I'm going to walk you through why clients can lose confidence in the middle of a project and how progress reports can help, what to include in one, and how to make the whole process easy to manage behind the scenes. So if that sounds like what you need, stick around and let's get into it. Well, what's up, fam? Again, welcome to I Speak Organize. My name is Melanie Summers, and I am a professional organizer, ADHD organizing specialist, and your go-to gal for all things pro organizing business. I like to speak organized to give you the tools to conquer your clutter, live life with more purpose, and learn all about the business of tidying. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, go ahead and take out that device and tap the subscribe button on your screen so that you become a member of the Speaker fam. And as you get value out of today's video, go ahead and smash that like button and tap the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube so that you're notified whenever we post new content for you every single month. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, you can go ahead and leave us that rave 5-star review so that other folks get a chance to discover the channel, allow us to grow and reach more amazing people just like you looking to level up their game in the professional organizing industry. If you're brand new to all of this and you don't really know where to start, there is a thriving community of professional organizers right inside my free Facebook group. I will link to it down in the description of the video and the podcast show notes so you can join for free and join in the conversation. Ask your questions, get advice in real time from thousands of organizers and organizing enthusiasts just like you. Now, before we dive in, it's important for me to briefly mention that I Speak Organized is a resource hub for all things pro organizing business. So if you're looking for a coach, or you're looking for forms, or you're looking for a membership program or courses, all of those things exist within the I Speak Organized universe. So comment down below, send me a DM on social media, email me, whatever it happens to be. Get in touch if you know you need help with these things. Throughout the video, I'm going to be sprinkling in little bits of resources for you so that you kind of know where to take the next step. So be sure to stick around and perk your ears up for those moments so that you get the help that you need to make this dream of running a 6 or 7 figure organizing company. You heard that right. Make that a reality using the tools that we have available for you. Let's dive in. So now we're going to dive in and talk about what happens when clients think that projects are moving too slowly. And so this is one of the main reasons why I started developing progress reports to build trust, show value, and guide the next step. So similar to a proposal, it's more of just a client care tool, as I mentioned before. So the phrase I want you to keep in mind throughout this video is this: show the work. Your client should never have to wonder what got done. And I do not mean that in a defensive way. I mean that when a client is investing in your services, especially at a higher level, part of your job is to help them understand the value of what's happening. It's just going to make the process smoother and easier and more enjoyable for you and for them. So it's not just about the final reveal, like on the Netflix TV specials. It's not just when everything looks beautiful, but throughout the process, especially in the messy middle. Progress reports help you build trust and show value and guide the client towards the next best step. So now let's start with why clients lose momentum in the first place. And you may have your own ideas about this. We've been in business for over a decade. And so obviously we're paying attention to patterns and really trying to make sure that we mitigate a lot of these issues. So the first reason is that organizing often looks worse before it looks better. I know everybody has been in that situation. This photo here on the right is the middle of a process. This wasn't even the beginning. This was like when things started getting pulled out and decisions were being made. It was a mess, as an example. So as organizers, obviously we know this. We know that sometimes everything has to come out before it can go back in. We know that sorting, categorizing, packing, staging, labeling, and resetting are all part of the process. But the client may not understand that. And I'm sure that you can relate to that. You've had this happen before. They may walk into the room halfway through the project and think, oh my gosh, what happened in here? Did a bomb go off? Like, what is going on? Why does this look so bad? And the second reason that clients may lose momentum is that they tend to focus on what's left. They may not notice that you sorted through 20 bins, packed fragile items, staged donations, broke down boxes, labeled categories, or created a plan for the next phase. It's a lot of work that goes on, especially behind the scenes with that invisible labor. And they often look at the remaining chaos because that is what their nervous system is responding to. They're training themselves to find the problem. The third reason that clients can lose momentum is that organizing includes a lot of invisible labor, as we talked about just a second ago. There's decision support, there's product planning, there's careful handling, there's categorizing, there's emotional labor, and adjusting the plan as you uncover new information. The scope is going to change. It's a flexible, ever-evolving sort of organic process. And sometimes people think that it's going to be this real systematic type of framework that we work within, and it rarely ever is that way. The fourth thing that causes clients to lose momentum is that money can bring up anxiety. Plain and simple, a client can be grateful and still feel very nervous about the investment. And those things can exist all at the same time. They're valid if you put yourself in the client's position and you know what's going on, you know the process, but they don't. And so if you're in their position where you're working with a professional and paying them thousands of dollars and you don't quite understand the process, you're going to have all of these feelings as well. So it's important to remember that and help them understand by communicating as clearly as possible. So priorities might shift mid-project. That doesn't mean that the project is going badly. That's another thing to utilize a progress report for. It often just means that you're responding to what's actually happening in the home. And so this is a great tool to kind of show them that in real time in a way that is palatable and easy to understand. So the problem is if you don't communicate that clearly, the client can interpret the shift as confusion, delay, or lack of progress. So this just blows all of that out of the water. So this kind of brings me to my next point, and I think this is really important. The timing of all of this, a progress report is actually most powerful before a client starts asking, what did we accomplish? If you wait until they're already frustrated, they're vexing their frustrations and voicing them to you, they're confused, they're questioning the invoice, you may still be able to recover the communication at that point, but it's going to be harder. And so we started implementing this with every client, regardless of the size of the job, just to make sure that we're being proactive in our communication process before the client feels like they have to pull that information out of you. They may be scared to ask. And in a lot of cases, they may be coming from a place of wanting to please, or they're a people pleaser, or they're just feeling shy about the whole situation, but they may not be entirely happy. And they may just end the work with you and never call you back. And what we have found by being proactive in communicating these details is that people come forward and say, oh my gosh, I'm so relieved to have this information. I was wondering about XYZ, blah, blah, blah. So this is not about over explaining. This is about leadership and showing them sort of the behind the scenes of the process that's going to help everybody feel comfortable moving forward. And then they're going to continue to ask you back, even if problems do arise, because they understand how and why that occurred. So this is the reframe I really want you to take from this video. Progress report is a client care tool. It's not about defending your work, like we mentioned. It's not about proving yourself. It's about leading the client through the process. A good progress report encourages your client. It helps them see the progress and that it's happening. And even if the project isn't finished yet, they know what the next steps could look like. They have the moving pieces in place. It documents the work, which is especially important on larger jobs where there's a lot of moving pieces. I'll talk about that in just a sec. It shows invisible labor, which is something the client often misses, and it clarifies scope changes so that the clients can understand why the project may have shifted or why certain areas took more time. It builds trust because you're communicating clearly and proactively, and it guides the next steps so the client's not left wondering, okay, now what? So progress reports help that client stop focusing on only what's left and start seeing what has already been accomplished. And that shift is huge emotionally. This process can be really overwhelming for people and bring up tons of feelings of guilt and shame and embarrassment. And then they're going to kind of spiral in some cases and feel very overwhelmed by this process. And you are helping to pull them through that and show them the positives of the process so that they feel encouraged to continue going. This is sort of like your insurance policy to have these clients ask you back for more work. And not only that, it also is going to help protect you in the event that there is any kind of dispute that you've done the work. We have only ever had that happen once where a client tried to issue a chargeback for our services. And we had this progress report along with screenshots of our contracts and their text messages that they received the work, they were happy with it, that we had all of this email communication, and we were able to very easily win that dispute by proving beyond a reasonable doubt that we had provided exemplary service and documented the process along the way. So yes, it is a client care tool, but at the same time, especially if you're starting to engage in larger projects, this is essential for protecting your work as well in the event of a potential dispute. All right, I want to give you a real world example of how this can show up. And so I'm going to talk through the structure I've used in my own organizing business. The point is not that every progress report needs to look exactly like mine. The point is to understand what kind of information you should put in there that's going to help the client feel informed, encouraged, and clear about the next step. So in one recent project, we supported a large move-related client project. There were a lot of fragile items, sentimental items, storage-bound stuff, everyday household stuff, and a lot of decision-making involved. So the items were going to disperse to multiple locations, and there was a lot of breakable, very sentimental stuff going on here. So this is exactly the kind of project where the client can easily start to feel really overwhelmed because there's so many layers happening at once. In this situation, a progress report gave the client a clear picture about what had been accomplished and what still needed attention. And so even though there were times where the client literally disassociated on us, there were tears, there was frustration, there was confusion, like all of those things existed, but because we kept the communication clear, straightforward, and documented, they're asking us back multiple times to continue through the process because we've built that real authentic relationship and trust. So again, this example is based on move support and a project where the team was helping pack, stage, label, and sort items for storage and future use. This kind of project can be especially overwhelming for clients because it's not just putting things in boxes, right? There's fragile items, sentimental items, things that have true monetary value, and storage bound stuff. So short-term use items may be still needing to be accessible, and they often have a lot of decisions happening along the way that can become very quickly overwhelming. So in this kind of situation, a progress report helps the client not only understand what was done, but why the work required care, flexibility, and most importantly, lots more time than maybe what would have been expected. So the first thing I want you to notice when it comes to opening up this and writing this progress report is the tone. You want to start with encouragement. You're not opening with, here's why this took so long, or here's why the invoice just is what it is. You're not being defensive in your posture. You're operating from care. So something as simple as, I wanted to send over a progress update so you can see what we accomplished and what we uncovered and what we recommend as the next best step. This immediately sets the tone. It tells the client you're supported, progress is happening, and there is a path forward. That was intentional because sometimes the client doesn't need more pressure. They just need the clarity and encouragement. And this is especially true when the work is emotional, expensive, and part of a major life transition like a move. So show the numbers so you can help communicate value. This can be really, really helpful. Now, this is where some organizers get nervous, and I respect that because they don't want to over-explain or make the report feel too numbers heavy, but clear numbers can be really helpful, especially when a client is making a significant investment. In this example, the report showed the total labor, the support provided, and included both billed and donated labor time. So we had somebody who was in training on a job site. And so we don't charge our clients for that time, but they're still getting the real value from that labor. And so we show them that's part of sort of the invisible labor that and money that they didn't end up having to pay. That can really sort of help soften the blow sometimes, especially if your clients are starting to feel overwhelmed or questioning or whatever happens there. If your team provided dozens of hours of labor, handled delicate categories, staged items for a move, packed carefully, labeled clearly, and included extra support, that is worth communicating. And again, this example is just related to move support. You can do this for any type of organizing project, not just move management related. And this might be one of the most important parts of the progress report, to name the invisible labor. So I want to double down on it. Clients often don't see the hidden work until you explain it. They may not realize how much time goes into wrapping fragile items individually. They may not understand why padded boxes carefully matters. They may not notice that thought behind the color coding and the labeling. They may not understand the difference between packing things quickly and packing them in a way that supports the next phase of the move. They may not see the decision-making support that happens in real time between you and the team, or however it's being structured. The amount of time you spend doing research on the back end and finding just the right products and the placement of all of those things and designing systems and so on and so forth. So in the example report, I explained that the goal was not simply to pack quickly. The goal was to move the project forward in a way that protected the client's belongings, supported their decision-making, and reduced the overall load on the family. And that kind of language matters because it helps the client understand the value of your work. And it's not just only about the visible result. It's also about the care, the strategy, and the support that gets that result. This is also where you start to educate your client on what professional organizing actually is. It's not just making things look nice. It's creating order, reducing decision fatigue, protecting belongings, and supporting the client emotionally, and helping the project move forward in a way that's manageable. Scope changes, we got to talk about that, because we want to be able to communicate these clearly and calmly. They're one of the biggest reasons that progress reports can be helpful, because sometimes the original project changes once you actually get inside the home. And I actually may rephrase that to say that every time, not just sometimes, it changes once you get inside the actual home and start working with the client, because every client is different and they aren't necessarily even self-aware enough to know how they're going to react once the project gets going. So maybe the client adds another space. Maybe you uncover additional categories. Maybe a closet has more inventory than expected. Maybe sentimental items slow the progress down. Maybe a move project becomes more complicated because things need to go to storage, something needs to stay accessible, some things require client review, etc. In the example report, I explained that the pantry had not been part of the original scope, but the team was able to make progress there, and that the area included odd-sized items, fragile pieces, and items that required thoughtful sorting and careful packing. That's clear, that is factual, and it helps the client understand why the work required additional time or attention. Now, some of you are sitting here thinking to yourselves, wow, that seems like way more like overkill than I need in my business at this point right now. And I want you to hear me say that this is not what you need to do every single time. I think that it's important to get in the mindset of starting to develop these resources for your client, even if you're brand new and you're just getting started. This is going to help you learn how to communicate with them throughout the process. And not every progress report is going to need to be 6 pages long. It's not always going to need to be this huge document every single time you work with a client, because the point isn't about length, it's about clarity and transparency of communication, openness of communication. So for some of the clients that we work with, a progress report is a formal PDF when it calls for it, when it's a large project like a move management project. Sometimes it's just a simple email. Sometimes it's a project recap with a screen share video that I can transcribe and have that documentation in writing should I need it, with photo updates and just a few clear notes. It can be very, very simple. What matters is that the client understands what happened, why it matters, and what should happen next. Pretty simple. So let's simplify this into a reusable framework for you right now. And I want to help you get started. So I have created a free progress report guide that's linked down below. You sign up and you get it for free, and it'll give you the framework, the checklist, and some starter language you can use. Now, if you want to take that to the next level and you know you need more guidance and training on these types of things, along with training on how do I price, what's my hourly rate, what should my business name be, how do I structure my LLC, where do I buy products, how does clients reimburse for that, how do I get paid, like all these different things, you can learn about this in a more in-depth manner and all of those additional topics inside of my Organizer in Demand membership program. It is a monthly on-demand membership program where you have access to on-demand lessons. There's 35 of them in there at this point that can be accessed 24/7 on all these different topics, including this one. And we also meet live twice a month for live one-on-one coaching in that group setting. So it's kind of a no-brainer. It's extremely affordable. It's a cancel anytime situation. So if you know you need a little bit more help and you want those sort of editable plug and play templates that are for members only, that is something that you can get inside of the membership program. I encourage you to go down to the description of the podcast and show notes and the YouTube video and check out the link if you want to learn more about that. But for now, let's talk through the basic structure of this progress report. This is the framework I would use if I were creating progress reports in your organizing business. So start with a warm opening, restate the original goal or scope, list what was completed, explain what was uncovered, include photos or visual proof, clarify the current status, and recommend next steps. And then you're going to end with encouragement. And that's it. So you can make this as simple or as detailed as the project requires, like I mentioned earlier. So for a small project, it could be a short email. For a larger project, especially one where the client is investing thousands upon thousands of dollars, this might become a more polished PDF. But the structure is the same, and you help the client feel informed, cared for, and clear in the next step. So when do you send one? When is the moment that you actually hit that send button? Again, you do not need to send a formal report after every tiny session, but I would strongly consider sending one after the first major session, especially if the client wasn't present for all the work. You could send it at the midpoint of a multi-day project. You could send it when the scope expands. You could send it when the client seems overwhelmed or discouraged. Take it as an emotional cue before asking for more hours. So as you're preparing to prep them for next steps, this progress report could serve as your way to get that retainer client momentum and continue the work with them. Now, this is where your backend systems really matter. Your progress report is not only as strong as the information you capture during the project, but your notes need to also be in one place. Your photos shouldn't be buried in your camera roll. Your team updates shouldn't all just be in a group text, and your follow-up tasks shouldn't be floating around in your head. It becomes a lot harder to communicate clearly with the client if everything is spread out all willy-nilly and hard to find. So you need a source of truth. You need a trusted place to keep these client notes, somewhere to keep job notes, somewhere to store and reference photos, somewhere to manage checklists, somewhere to capture team updates, and to create follow-up tasks. Because if the details are scattered everywhere, the client update becomes harder to create. And we want to make the process of creating this style of progress report really easy. I crank these things out in minutes. Literal minutes, because I know some of you are sitting there like, I'm not tech savvy. I don't know how to, first way to write this up and make it detailed and add all these things and blah, 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 blah. I utilize tools that I can pull all this stuff together in literal minutes so that if a client is freaking out, I can get back to them in 10 or 15 minutes with a full report update of what is happening. So if you want progress reports to become part of your process, you need a system that helps you capture the information as the project is happening. Here's how I do that. This is one of the reasons I like to talk about Jobber from a service-based business perspective. And this is where Jobber fits so naturally into the conversation. I will issue the caveat here that this is a sponsor affiliate integration, but we're going to make this practical and it's not random. It really truly is the thing that makes this so fast and easy for me. And I want to encourage you to at least just understand it and check it out. So because you're trying to create better client communication, you need better project information behind the scenes, pure and simple. So for an organizing business, you can use a platform like Jobber to help manage the details that eventually feed into that progress report. You can capture the project notes in one place, assign team tasks in one place. You can use closeout checklists, save photos and project details, create follow-up reminders, all in one place. You see where I'm kind of getting at with the organization behind the scenes. We are professional organizers after all. So it's important that our business and back end is organized as well. And you can keep everyone more aligned as the project is happening. So when it's time to send a progress report, you're not trying to recreate the whole project from memory. You have already captured all the important details, and that makes the client communication easier, clearer, more professional, and minutes in the making, like so fast. So the goal is to make sure that the important details don't get lost and that it doesn't take up all of your precious time that you don't have to make this. So if you want to check out Jobber and see how it could help you manage the back end of your services, I'll leave my link below. It is a 2-week free trial link. There's no sign up required for you to check out the platform, see it for yourself. And then if you love it, you can sign up using my link and you receive a percentage discount off the first 3, maybe even 6 months, depending on where we're at when you're watching this video, and comment if you have any questions. Now, as we get ready to wrap this all up, the big takeaway is this: progress reports build trust. They help you show the work, they help you lead the client, and they help you guide the next step. So the client experience is not just the final reveal, it's the way the client feels through the process, that they feel informed. Do they feel cared for? Do they understand what's happening? Do they know what their investment is going toward? And do they feel like you are leading them? A progress report helps answer those questions. And again, this is not about proving yourself. It's about leading the client through the messy middle. All right, fam. That's going to wrap it up. And again, I just want to thank you so much for being here. If you need help and you want that framework to get you started with progress reports, remember, I have created that free guide and it's going to be linked down below in the description of the video and the podcast show notes. It's going to walk you through the framework, what to include, when to send it, and that starter language to use. I will leave it linked below. And if you want that editable plug and play progress report with the templates, that's going to live inside the Organizer in Demand membership. Remember, inside the membership program, you get that support with client communication and pricing, proposals, scope, systems, and building a more sustainable organizing business that can set you up for 6 or 7 figures and beyond. So you can join the Organizer in Demand using the link below. So be sure to check that out. And you have that discount code YTPRO8 for $8 off your very first month if you so choose to join us. And I hope you do, because it's going to be an absolute game changer for you. Because that way you don't have to figure out everything on your own for your business, because it's all there for you 24/7. Plus that live coaching twice a month. Like, you really can't beat it. It's extremely affordable and we have lots of fun. I'm not a gatekeeper, so I lay it all out there for you. The more your business grows, the more systems, communication, confidence, and all the things that you're going to need to grow it. And that's where we at Organizer in Demand come in to save the day and help you out. If you found this video helpful, make sure that you smash that like button, that you subscribe, and that you comment and let us know if you are currently sending progress reports, if you want to give it a try, and if this is something that you want to start adding to your process. I would love to hear your thoughts on all of that. I, as always, am cheering you on, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.